Hello there and welcome. In this video I got you 10 different tips, tricks and strategies for beginners and newcomers to Factorio. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things that I hope will make this game less overwhelming, easier understandable, and gives you a good grasp of good practices and things that will make you have a good factory in the long run. Alright, let's get started with number one. The very most important thing, it is your factory and therefore you apply your rules. If anything, in all the guides and tutorials that you see, we all have been there. I have been consuming a lot of guide material as well. And if you feel like this is not the way you want to do it, then do it differently. If you feel like the way that you have been taught something feels like you need to simplify it a little bit for your taste because it's too much, do so. The really important thing to stress out here is Factorio is a game about individual factory planning. So I dare say that at the end of the day, we all would build slightly different. There are optimal solutions, but we have to discover them for ourselves if we want to apply them, how we want to apply them, and therefore it's really your pacing and take it in a way that this game is fun. And if it feels stressful, you might want to check out what is bugging you out and do it differently. So number two, speaking about bugs, biters are optional. You can't just set them to peaceful or erase them out of the world. Also, not only biters are optional, the world settings are also completely optional. Annoyed by constantly running out mineral patches, change something about that. For me personally, I find it extremely important to play Factorio in a manner that it is enjoyable. Some of us hate cliffs, some of us, like me, hate the biters. There's a lot of things happening in the game that we want to have differently and, seriously, adapted in a way that it's enjoyable, and when you are in the mood for a challenge, you will notice that and go for it. So, number three, logistics are your limit. While we can basically build another assembler and another assembler and another assembler to do the same, eventually our limit will be the builds that we're using. This is the, the thing that is defining how large a part of your factory will be also. Yellow belts carry 15 items per second, then the following ones get 30, then we get 45, and eventually we can hit even up to 60 items per second. And that is the defining factor of how large a singular unit of your factory can grow. The best example for this, I personally think, are always these smelting stacks. You know, you can only put in as much iron ore until the capacity of the belts has been filled. And this is some concept that you will see everywhere in this game once you start looking for it. So, generally speaking, if you're asking yourself how large something should be built, the belt that you're using is always defining the maximum characteristic. Not everything you should be building in a manner to satisfy the largest builds. You know, there's high-end products that we don't need 60 items per second of, but you know, with things like iron plates and other generical items, it can be extremely useful to know how far you can eventually go. Number four, buffering and why it's generally bad for you and when it's not. So first up, what is a buffer? So a buffer is something, imagine we would be not piping that iron here directly into the line, but instead we'd had a chest sitting here in between where we store some iron for bad days. Storing something in between production lines is always a bad idea, because at the end of the day, we like things at maximum throughput, and maximum throughput is best reached if items are flowing just down the line. The chest we use to buffer something needs to be operated by inserters, and these already slow down things. And on the other hand, there's no necessity to store things, except for a few things. First up, when you're starting out, a chest or two full of coal are extremely helpful, because your early power generation strongly relies around steam generation. And there's this unsavory situation where your steam generation runs dry, then your miners run dry, your miners don't produce coal fast enough anymore, and before you notice quickly enough what happens, your whole factory runs down to a halt, and this can only be fixed by inserting fuel back into the boilers. So this is one of the examples of a meaningful buffer. So here at this end, we could set up a chest storing some coal for us as an emergency recharge for this. And the most famous and most used buffering system that we all know when we play this game long enough are malls like these, where we store in chests stuff that we use for construction's sake. Technically also a buffer. We also limit how much we store of these because we don't need endless amounts of these, but these are the items, the ones that you use are the ones that you can put into storage. Things that are meant to be processed in a way or another, like here at the smelting stack, should never be stored on the line and just kept flowing. This is the most efficient way of doing things. Number 5. When to use belts, when to use trains. A pretty simple concept here. When the distances between things are medium, like for example here the stone mining site and the transportation over here to the mall, that's a medium distance. The mining side here and the smelting side, still sort of medium, but long enough to set up a train. But up here, that iron ore patch, and that is already long distance. Generally speaking, belts are really good at transporting things over shorter amounts of distances, but when we have to bridge larger gaps, go for trains. There's nothing better in this game. And if you find trains intimidating, this is by far the easiest pattern that I love to use, because I can only use trains out of blueprints myself. Signaling is something that I basically understand, but I hate doing it in larger concepts. But here's a simple thing. You go for a loop like that, and the train just traverses back and forth between these two stations. When the patch is drained, you can decide either to hook up another patch or reconfigure the train network. Obviously, this is just a starter thing, but look at them go. They support this little factory here quite decently, and you can do quite nice things there. If you don't like the loops, you can put a locomotive at the end and at the beginning of the train and make it a one-track system. Also works this decently. The point here is just don't try to do long-distance transportation with belts. You just invest so much resource into laying down belt over long distances, because a yellow belt is cheap, fine, but it also doesn't transport much, so we would need endless amounts of yellow belt. Or we go for efficient belt, and that is costly. So trains are superb when it comes to long-term distance transportations. So number 6, blueprints and bots. So in this game, like I said, there's optimal solutions. Control C gives you a copying tool which allows you to, on the fly, copy things that you do, and obviously you can save these also as blueprints in your blueprint book. But my point here is, whatever you do, make it in a way that you can or try to make it in a way that you can easily just copy it and paste it down somewhere else again. This game has so many repetitive builds. Technically, you can automate every one of your production cycles like that by having blueprints for them. Green circuits and red circuits are famous for that. The other thing in this point here is try to get yourself construction bots as quick as you can, because these are just a godsend. While a normal blueprint placed down will set up the ghosts so you can manually place them down, which is already a great help, the construction bots will automatically place down things for you, and I see construction bots as one of the major milestones in your Factorio progression chain, because the moment you got construction bots and the moment you can set up just a blueprint and copy something like that and it automatically gets built, you save so much time. And therefore I really recommend rushing towards that technology as fast as you can and use them because they just save insane amounts of time. So, number 7, plan your build production stepwise. So, with that, I mean, we have here a good example. Step 1, we take all the ore and transport it and transform it into plates. Step 2, we take the ore and we take the plates and then we transport them over to the labs. Step 3, at the labs we transform that iron ore here into cogwheels and then into red potions. Science. You could to do that completely chaotically and not bundle these things up. I mean, my build here is already quite chaotic. I know that. But it is organized enough. As you see here, production steps are always chained together, and that is already like 80% of the efficiency. If you don't do that, your productions will be very, very difficult to expand. In systems like these, we can easily, as long as there's room enough, just set up another and another and another of these guys. So, give you an example here. We can easily expand on that. If the red science fabricators would be scattered around the place, this would be much harder to achieve. So organize these things and you will find that you are much faster with that. And number 8, on the next part, the whole factory can be planned module-wise. So with that I mean here, this is my science module. It's a fairly small one. It produces all the sciences that are available on Novice in a very, very small amount, and takes resources from here, processes them here, and pipes them back there. This is one module for me. This is also a module. We take ores and transform them into various products here. So this is a smelting module. This is my mall module where I produce all these things. Organizing your factory into these chunks makes it so much easier to consider what you need where, how much you need where, and you know, you have to organize things somehow, otherwise the game is really going to pummel you with the diversity of products that it requires. Alright, so brings me to number 9, a couple of tips about science. First up, an ever-recurring question, how much science do you actually need? Honestly, one science pack of each color per second is already pretty good. That's in Factorio long-term players 60 SPM or 60 science per minute. This is already a good starting point when you are starting out with the game. You might now wonder, hey, come on, these are so easily produced, the green ones too. But the deeper you go down the tech tree, the worse the conditions get, and the ratios get worse, and maintaining just one of these science units per second becomes more and more of an ordeal. And when you are just starting out, you are really doing fantastically well when you manage to get an output of 1 science per second of each color. Congratulations, you basically already beaten the game with bravado if you managed to pull this off up until the very least color. Therefore, it is completely okay to go below that bar, 30 science per minute. When you're starting out, every trickle, be it ever so small, is to prefer over no production at all. Because science is super important. Science is not only unlocking new things, eventually science allows you to make everything you do more efficient, which is a really, really powerful thing, and it never stops being interesting. Technically speaking, science is the endless resource dump of this game. You can always put new resources into science and invest them meaningfully. Therefore, start out small until you know what you're doing there, and then there's always a chance to scale it up. And number 10, last but not least, set yourself some bigger goals for each factory that you build. Be it the goal to just launch a rocket and beat the game without the DLC, or reaching the planet Aquilo when you have Space Age installed, or reaching, I don't know, 1,000 science per minute. Factorio is a game where I personally find unplanned expansion grows extremely boring extremely quickly, at least for me. I think human beings are all wired differently, and some of us might be just enjoying building for the sake of building, but I find it is always the most enjoyable thing if we are working towards a certain thing. Once you know what the big goal of your factory is, set it up into smaller milestones and work towards these. Factorio really teaches you to segment your tasks into bite-sized chunks and go through them, and then it's actually quite easy. If you don't, it feels like a horrendous task of to-do lists and endless amounts of things that you'll need to pile up. Therefore, choose a goal for your factory and follow it through. I really recommend that. At the beginning, it's the easiest thing when you're just learning. Obviously, your goal is just to beat the game, but once you're past that step, and it will happen eventually if you like this game, it stays most important, at least from my perspective, to either go for progressing through mod packs, there's excellent content out there, or building insane mega factories that beat the limits of logistics and such things in a way that makes you happy. At the end of the day, the most important thing is the factory must grow. So, thanks for watching. Drop into the comment section whatever tips you would give a beginner in the year 2025 to Factorio. I'm all eager to learn more myself. This is a game where you can endlessly learn new things, I feel like, and therefore chime in. I'm grateful. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider donating to Ko-fi or any other given ways and means to support this channel and my work. I would be endlessly grateful if you did, and of course I want to say a big thanks to all of the supporters out there. Couldn't do anything without you, and a big thanks for you watching this video right here, right now still. I couldn't do anything without people like you either, you know. No audience, no content creator at the end of the day. So, thanks for taking that time, and see you on the next one.